mandates for vaccines are here. We know that there have been a lot of questions about what OSHA can and cannot do, vaccine mandates for employers, and it's more than just a political issue. There's a bigger issue here for employers. If you are with federal contracts or if you've got more than 100 employees, this affects how you do business. Compliance matters. Are you going to be up for lawsuits? What happens if you don't obey one of these mandates? Are these mandates going to end up back in place? They are very big questions for employers who just want to do whatever it is they do and keep going without dealing with the politics of this. So we had questions about this because we know that the Arizona Attorney General was successful in stopping these mandates, at least temporarily. He joins us now, Attorney General Mike Broomhead. Let's start there. Where is this case in the federal courts, and how do you see it playing out?
Hey, Mike, thank you for having me on. There's actually multiple cases going on right now. So we were the first state. I was the first person in the entire country to sue the Biden administration over his constitutional authority to issue these mandates in the first place. And so what has happened right now with the several court cases that are going on is, one, we were successful in stopping the mandate for healthcare workers. So right now that is on hold. So the Biden administration tried to mandate that healthcare workers, hospitals, people in the healthcare field that have Medicaid or any sort of federal contracts have to have their employees vaccinated. That has been put on hold. The other rule that was put on hold dealt with the OSHA rules that's basically said that if a business has 100 or more employees, that they can require or they're required to give people a vaccine. Right now, that rule has been on hold as well. And then the other rule dealing with, or the other mandate dealing with federal employees and contractors, that is still subject to litigation. And you may recall we had a hearing recently in federal district court in front of Judge Liberty, and DOJ, the federal government, filed their response briefs last week. So we're hoping that we will get a decision here, hopefully even this week, where we can put on hold the Biden administration's attempt to have all federal contractors and even federal employees get the vaccine mandate.
Is there any idea or timeline of when this will be officially resolved, whether it's all the way to the Supreme Court or appeals are done with? Is any chance we'll know when that is, or when is that? Do you know?
Well, I learned a long time ago, Mike, not to try to predict what a federal judge or a federal court's going to do. But I do know the Biden administration, for example, at our hearing just a couple weeks ago, they had people fly in from D.C. for Main Justice. So they are doing everything they can to argue that they have the authority, the federal government has the authority to, mandate these vaccines for everyone. And so they're really trying to push this, and obviously we're pushing back hard because we think clearly what the Biden administration is trying to do is unconstitutional and not sound public policy. And so this ultimately, I think, will end up at the United States Supreme Court. But our hope is in the interim, you will have the federal district court here put a pause, put a halt on what the Biden administration is trying to do.
Attorney General Mike Broomhead is joining us. Let me ask you quickly, I don't know how much you can comment on this, but there was a story that your office recommended that the DOJ take a look at possible violations against the Scottsdale School Board and what happened when the former president and his father were doxing parents. Can you explain why you asked to do that, or as much as you can, what's happening with that?
Well, we actually have an ongoing investigation as well, so I really can't comment specifically on what our office may or may not be doing. Excuse me. But we also, in conjunction with that, sent a letter to the Federal Department of Justice, to the Biden administration, and, reminding them that this is actually an instance where they have jurisdiction. For example, there's, FERPA, there are certain rights that we all have, our parents have, when it comes to education and education privacy. And so, that's a potential federal violation where the federal government would have jurisdiction. Furthermore, I just thought it was very hypocritical for the Biden administration to say that, they were going to investigate parents as possibly domestic terrorists, and then yet when you have a government official or people in government authority seemingly trying to intimidate or investigate parents, they're not doing anything. So we were urging the Federal Department of Justice, the federal government, to use its authority when it came to FERPA and other rights of parents to look at the Scottsdale School Board and instead of trying to focus all their negative energy on parents.
All right, my last question is about the border. I know that there has been a lot of discussion between your office and between the federal government because it's a federal issue in border enforcement, but it affects everybody in the state of Arizona. What's the latest on the border and your conversations with the feds?
Well, you know, Mike, that the Biden administration has essentially advocated ceded control of our southern border to the cartels. And so shame on, Cartel Kelly, shame on the Biden administration for essentially ignoring this problem and hoping it's going to go away, because it's not. We have seen a dramatic increase in fentanyl and other drugs coming into this country. We know the price of fentanyl is falling. We know that in places like Pima County, overdose deaths are rising. In fact, now exceeding traffic deaths for young people. So this is a huge problem in the state, and the Biden administration and his enablers in Congress are ignoring it. And so this is having an effect not only on us here in Arizona, but across the country. And so, as you know, Mike, we have multiple lawsuits going on trying to force the Biden administration to just basically follow existing law. We are already seeing a record amount of people enter this country illegally. It's completely undermining the rule of law. It's undermining, the safety of our communities, and it's going to have a long-term consequence. And so, as a result of our lawsuits, we do see now that the Biden administration is apparently going to re-implement the Remain in Mexico policy. But the reality is that is just one step that the Biden administration should be doing. I mean, my questions are, why aren't they deporting people with deportation orders, with their interim and guidance policies? Why did they stop building the wall? I mean, I was just down at the border a couple of weeks ago again, and you can see, rusted building parts and wall parts that are just sitting there. And we are literally now, as taxpayers, paying people not to build a wall. So it's absolutely ridiculous. And what has happened is the Biden administration and his allies in Congress have essentially ceded control of the southern border to the cartels, and they have put politics over our personal safety.
Mr. Brnovich, always appreciate it. I know that you're pulled in a lot of different directions, but the update here to the people listening is important, and I appreciate you doing it this morning.
Well, thank you very much, Mike.